What's up, guys? Pachata Rockstar here once again. And we've got the same player, but a different game with a different outcome. Let's see how his game has changed. Let's see how our game has changed. Let's see how this game turns out. We're playing Guiannos again, or Guiannos. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Maybe it's Guiannos. Es posible. But here we go. Let's take a look. This is a fun one. So, 3 trade. The question is, do you go Sentinel? Do you go Spike Cluster? Do you go Explorer? So there's something to be said about getting the Spike Cluster because I realize it's only 3 HP base. But again, getting a base really early on cycle number 1, or excuse me, on shuffle number 1, it's pretty powerful because the likelihood of it staying out is really good. Like, a lot of times your opponent just doesn't have enough damage to kill it, or so there's a good chance it stays out for 2 or 3 turns. But the reason I would say it's actually not that good with a card like the Spike Cluster is the Spike Cluster doesn't give you any trade. And so you're not actually able to upgrade to better cards. It's just going to sit there and deal 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage. So that's less good, and actually makes it more likely for me to want to pick up a Sentinel or Explorer. While there are some big cards out there, you notice the big cards are only 5s, and there's 1 6. And there's 2 green bases out there. So the Sentinel actually goes way up in value because the likelihood of me being able to dock it multiple times is very high. And the chances of me picking up at least one of those bases is very high as well. So the Sentinel becomes the clear play. Okay, my opponent picks up Spike Pod, that's fine. And Spike Cluster, that's also fine. Yep, and had 3 trade. Perfect play. Very, very good play. That's exactly what you want to do. Maximize your blobs. Now he's got a base that's going to be hard for me to take down. So it's good. It's good. It's a good play. Unfortunately, yours truly only grabs 4 trade instead of 5, which would have been awesome because then I could have picked up the hive and went ham on him. But 2 explorers. Got to do it. Now we got an 8 drop. Now we got a 7 drop. All of a sudden, I went from, I probably don't need trade to definitely am going to need trade. And if I had 5, I'm not saying I would have picked up Explorers, but that might have been the right play anyway. You know, again, trying to get Command Ship, trying to get Citadel. Those are huge cards, and they need a huge amount of money. And if you don't ain't got that cash and got that money, 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 that money, money, money. Cause you know how it is. Go and handle your biz and get that. If you don't have that money, you can't pick up any of these honeys. So he picks up the hive. Darn it. This is bad for us now. He's got 2 good blob ships. He's got a good blob base. Multiple opportunities for card draw now. It's 5 damage, so it's tough to kill. I only have my Sentinel for damage. This is bad. This is really bad. So, new question is, do I go Mining Mech or do I go Frontier Station? So, Frontier Station is expensive, even though I can afford it. But I get the feeling he's not going to be able to afford it. And picking a Mining Mech will give me 3 trade and give me an opportunity to get the 7s, you know, the Command Ship and the Citadels, which is what I really want. So, my thinking is go for Mining Mech here, which I do. Hey, and I pick up a blob too. We'll take that for sure. And I scrap one of the explorers because I figure I got enough trade now. So this is a tip that I think a lot of people should utilize. When you pick up a trade card, you can get rid of a trade card. Not all the time. It doesn't always fit. But in a case like this where I have 2 explorers and I just picked up a Mining Mech, getting rid of one of the explorers is perfectly fine because you're still going to be able to draw into your sixes, into your fives and your sixes. Yeah, see, and he's getting explorers too. Oops, hang on. Let's back that up. Let's see what happened here. So he actually played the... okay, so that's what happened. So he ended up scrapping Unity Station and Defense Center? That's weird. I'm surprised he didn't go for the command ship. But maybe he thinks I can't afford it. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I think I would have scrapped both the sevens. Yeah, and then he ends up only having 3 trade and getting explore. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We could quibble over which ones to get rid of. I think he probably thought the Unity Station would give me another base that I could attach my Sentinel to, so that's why he wanted to get rid of it. A little confused as to why he got rid of the Defense Center. Maybe he thought I was going to be able to buy that next turn. It makes sense. You know, I don't necessarily have large trade cards. I do have an Explorer. I do have a mining mech, but those are both in my graveyard. Graveyard. Those are both in my discard pile right now. So I see his thinking. I see his thinking. I think it's fine. But I do think that the Citadel was a much bigger threat than the Defense Center. So I think either one is fine, though. And it's quite possible he wants the Citadel for himself, too. So I pick up the Central Station. And you might be wondering why I'm doing that. Yes, it's the only thing I can afford. But I do want him to funnel his blob damage into my Central Station. And again, I'm trying to acquire a trade. There's a lot of big cards out there. Hopefully this will last. Maybe I start building a blob deck. Who knows? It's entirely possible. And yep, he's just getting more explorers. So this is one of those games where like the trade row is so fat and stacked that like we end up just trying to go for the same thing. So pick up the pulverizer here. 1, it keeps blobs away from him. 2, it's a card that allows me to scrap cards in the trade row and get big damage because of it, because there's so many big cards in the trade row. 3, by getting rid of those cards, I could potentially pick up a card that I can actually afford. So even though there is a base that could potentially scrap out there, I think this is a much better play given the state of the board and given my opponent's deck. No, I want Stealth Needle. Oh, what? I can get Stealth Needle. Oh, what a gentleman. Food that Look at this. Isn't made better by food. Oh, so kind you are. Oh, and I kill both bases? This is awesome. Yep. Pretty straightforward play here. It's the only thing I can afford. And, well, okay, technically I can afford this converter. But Stealth Needle is going to be so good with my deck. I've got a lot of cards that would love to combo up. So this is a very clear play. Got 5 again. Oh, and my opponent does me a favor. Spike pods those 2 cards. You know, I couldn't afford a command ship anyway. And him getting rid of the strong Union Stronghold is actually good because that card would be really good for his deck. So I'm totally fine with that. Picking up a Stinger. That's not good. Another Spike Cluster, maybe? Yeah. No, couldn't afford it. Yeah, he went with the Scrapper instead of the Spike Cluster, which I think is fine. I don't want to say his deck is bloated, but it is 17 cards. But they're all, like, really punchy cards. So getting scrapped down, getting more efficient, that's totally fine. So I do have to worry about him just dropping the hammer on me. And I will have to start considering my own life total. So I pick up the converter. It's the only card I can afford. And now I have a scrap, a base that protects and scraps in play. I'm a lot less worried about my life total now. And now I'm thinking it's time to go for the throat. It's time to attack. And I luck out. Okay, never mind. I don't luck out. He gets the Citadel. I say my opponent has a slightly bad turn. But no, he had a really good turn. But the good news is I get to pulverize twice. Yeah, now we're talking. Boom! And all of a sudden, the tables have turned. He goes from up 34-29, blam, to down 29-14. We're doing all right. Getting good grades. The future's so bright. I gotta wear shades, man. I got to. And now here's where we luck out. He just has a flat out bad turn. It's nice. It's good. And he clears some stuff up. And he provides us with stuff we are going to want to grab. Right? And we pick up a base that can scrap for damage. We pick up a Ravager. So we just added another 11 power to our deck. We're looking good. We're feeling good. We potentially have lethal right now. Stinger goes out. Swarmer goes out. Yep. We only need 14. Sorry guys, I coughed on the video. Boom, and it's enough. Alright. I scared myself. When I record these videos, sometimes the sound also records, and I coughed on the video and scared myself. So, what can we take from this game? Well, Stealth Needle is fucking fantastic. Pulverizer's a lot better than people think. This is another one of those games where the trade row got kind of clogged. So you have to kind of maneuver around it. And picking up cards like Spike Pod, like Swarmer, like Pulverizer become incredibly powerful in games like this where there is trade row blockage. This game also speaks to the power of just synergy, making sure you combo your cards together, making sure you don't make buys that you don't need to make. You notice a lot of times I was leaving one or two trade out there. My opponent had a good strategy. I like the way Guiannos plays. And we've had several battles since the filming of this episode. And, I have a lot of good things to say about the way he plays. And you can tell he definitely had a strategy. And he definitely had blobs on the mind and damage on the mind. But I will say, I don't think he protected his own life total quite enough. A lot of times when you build an aggro deck, you don't want it to be purely aggro. You'd like one or two bases, specifically one or two outposts. And he definitely had bases, as obvious, as shown by his two bases here. He kind of didn't draw them very much, which was a little odd. And he did get a little unlucky. Like, he didn't really combo his hive very well, which I thought was odd too. Like this combo right here is super powerful, right? 3 + 2 is 5 damage. So it's 5 damage and a card draw and 8 HP worth of bases. Like, that's a tough combo to get through. You literally only drew it once, So when your opponent has a deck that could potentially become incredibly lethal if you give him a few more turns, you want to take those turns away from him. You want to be able to be like, all right, look, I'm not going to let up. I'm not going to give you an extra round. I'm not going to give you an extra turn to beat me. And you notice I was down to 16. He is definitely beating me on the next turn if I don't beat him now. But I got lucky. I got very lucky in a sense that I was able to draw Stealth Needle and Pulverizer together twice. That was the end of the game. But that's why you get those cards. That's the reason Stealth Needle is so powerful. It's because you're able to double up on effects like that. So I would definitely say that I got the luckier card draws in this game, not just on the board, but also cards drawing into my hand. And sometimes that's the difference, you know. If we assume for the sake of argument that, Guiannos and I are of the same skill, the person who wins is the person who gets a little bit luckier. So, there you go. Kind of nice to say that I was the one that got luckier for for once. Oh well, guys. I hope you like this video. Sorry, I'm a little tired and a little off my rocker, but I'll catch you guys later. Thanks again.